Justin Tama is a technical head, one man who, in fact, was responsible for a major audit that was conducted at the civil aviation. He'll be telling us what the T discovered. Welcome, Anthony Alon.
Thank you.
How you doing? Please come closer to the microphone. Okay. Now, so let's hear from you first, Mr. Director General. Understand you attended the tri-annual General Assembly of the International Civil Aviation Organization held in Canada. How factual is that?
Well, so what? Let me firstly say thanks for the invitation, and I'm glad. When I enter the compound, I saw your Director General, Mrs. Liberty. I'm actually thrilled.
Why?
The LBS I see today reminds me about 1986. When I came to this studio.
Okay.
It was then the late Peter Rafa,
Okay.
the one that did the interview at that were students. And
Yeah.
so when I entered the compound,
It took your memory back.
Yes, yes. So I want to thank and appreciate the leadership of the LBS. Including the entire working team.
Okay.
And we are glad to be here.
Okay.
And so basically, like you really stated in your opening, in your comments, we just returned from Montreal, Canada, where we are going to attend the triannual General Assembly of the International Civil Aviation Organization. As you may be aware, Liberia is one of the oldest members of that August body.
Okay.
Because ACIO was actually founded in 1944, and Liberia became a member 1947. On February 11. So we are one of the oldest of that body. So we went there, and the good news is that we went there. We're allowed to participate because we are in good standing
Okay.
as a member state.
With a dues and all of that.
Yes,
Okay.
compared to the past, because as a member state, you are required to pay due.
Okay.
And ACIO has about 193 member states. They call them contracting states. 193, and if you are not in good standing, trust me, you are not allowed to vote.
Okay.
ACIO is a specialized agency of the United Nations.
Okay.
So just how the UNGA people, world leaders go to meet, that's how ministers of transport and aviation, director generals from around the world, we all converge to discuss issues that has to do with the aviation sector globally.
Okay. So, what was the focus for this year's conference?
Basically, we, the assembly was actually focused on, maintaining the standard. And there is one policy that ACIO has now developed, that no nation is left behind.
Okay.
Yes,
That's
and
good.
yeah, no nation is left
It's left
behind.
behind,
Yes,
okay.
and that's why these safety audits that should compare you as a member state to confront to the standards, because there are standards set that every member state you are required to follow suit.
Okay.
And that's why these audits can be done regularly. That we have regional bodies that we are working with. We have WACAF. WACAF is the Western Central African region body that is the sub body to ACIO. That body is based right in Dakar, Senegal. We also have the AFCA. AFCA was also established by the African Union.
Okay.
And they are in charge of the African Civil Aviation organization. And so we are in good standing. And so the discussion gave the opportunity to member states.
What were you people looking at specifically?
Um, like I said to you, these, safety standards, so if you look at the aviation sector, the reason why it's difficult, if you Google, it's difficult for you to hear about incident or accident as it relates to aircraft. It's because of these, stringent measures that will hold you accountable as a member state. You're not going to say, I'm independent, so ICAO cannot dictate to me. So those, safety and security standards, those are key, key areas that the council, or the assembly will focus on, and those are the emphasis that this, discussion was centered around the policies, the standards. So the aviation sector, globally, is a unique, sector where everyone is required to maintain the standards.
Did you make any presentation on behalf of the country?
Oh yes. The fact that the financial sector or the secretariat reported that Liberia was clear. And let me say this for the record. We want to thank the president for his administrative and financial support, where Liberia, is now in good standing with the joint effort also of the Honorable Minister of Transport, Samuel Wulu, and your humble servant, Moses Colley, were able to offset, the commitment before I ever left the country. Other than that, I wouldn't have gone there.
You turned off?
Even my predecessor then, former DG, now Senator, Emmanuel Nukwe, did make some payment, which was honored this administration. But when he took over, there was a huge amount, and so the outstanding balance was 200,000. And we had to pay that before I can regain, the right to vote as, a state.
That was a major precondition.
Of course, and because we got that clearance, many international partners before I left, they begin, writing the foreign ministry that they needed, Liberia's, support or Liberia's vote, because at that council, when you sit, we have the council that governs or directs, the day-to-day activities of ICAO. It's a permanent body that you elect every 3 years. So, international partners like the United States, the state of Qatar, the UK, India, Japan, they were all writing. And we discussed, we did it on the vote. We canvassed for some of these, countries that are in good standing, and we made sure that those countries, that our foreign ministry, through our foreign ministry, because that is the directive, from our president. Like I said to you, ICAO is, an agency of the United Nations. So, we are connected. So we're able to make sure that, we had our voting right. Not only that, the fact that we're clear financially, that we are zero balance in commitment with ICAO, and we're given the platform, to have addressed, the General Assembly.
Okay, that's good.
Yes, and we did that, and
what was called in the message?
Well, key in that message was that we informed ICAO that now that we are in good standing, we now, suggest that Liberia and ICAO begin to get into, a joint, technical cooperation where we can now, benefit from some, training, capacity building for my people, the technical people, at the Liberia Civil Aviation Authority. So those were great achievements to even gain your voting right, at the level of ICAO. It's a great achievement for the country, and that's what we did.
So it means that during the last administration, before this administration came, Liberia didn't have the voting rights.
Oh, many times Liberia did not vote.
Can you imagine?
Liberia did not vote many times, but the good news is that right now I'm saying,
Our voting rights have been restored.
yeah, we are zero
Okay.
balance on our financial.
I will come back to you, Chief Colleague. Let's hear from Anthony at Law, Augustine Tamba. Mr. Tamba, you've been a technical head. How are you doing?
I'm doing good.
What is your role? Because I heard about some audit.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, please come closer to the microphone. Yeah.
Okay. My role at the level of the Liberia Civil Aviation Authority as it relates to the audit is that I serve as the National Continuous Monitoring Coordinator for Liberia. And so I'm more like I would call it a go-between between Liberia as a contracting state and RKO.
Okay.
So everything that has to do with audit and RKO visitation to Liberia, they actually channel through me, and I coordinate with the Liberian team and then make sure that we respond to RKO appropriately.
Okay. So what was the recent response?
With regards to the audit, Liberia as a contracting state is on an obligation to be audited periodically by RKO. It doesn't have a defined time to say, oh, RKO will audit you every 1 or 2 months or every 1 or 2 years. Because the last time Liberia was audited before this gone audit was 2006. And so 2022, we had another audit. Now, our responsibility was to ensure that all of RKO standards and recommended practices that are applicable in Liberia, we see how best we can ensure that we are up to par with our own system. It's not just the Civil Aviation Authority, but all of the stakeholders, which includes the Airport Authority and the Accident Investigation Bureau, all of the airlines that operate in Liberia, and all other stakeholders.
Okay. Now, so when you conducted the audit, right?
Yes.
What did you find out? What did you discover?
Liberia had a couple of challenges,
Okay.
ranging from equipment or professional staff, availability of offices, and we have a lot of challenges. And these are not things that are actually new to us per se. These are things that we have been working towards, because the first time the audit was conducted, there was not a single regulation. But we have developed regulations over the time, and so we have already had a set of regulations in keeping with RKO standards and recommended practices. Because one thing I would like to make you to know is that RKO does not make laws or regulations for you as a state.
Okay.
They come up with the standards and recommended practices, and you as a state look at those standards, and you think that you can adapt them, then you adapt them as your domestic regulations.
Now, okay. Yes. go
And
ahead.
so we were able to do all of that prior to this audit. We developed all of the regulations for the sector, and then we had to commence the implementation of those regulations that were developed.
Now, we wanted to bring us up to speed with the challenges that you made reference to that you discovered in the sector.
Yeah, as I told you, the audit report, especially for now, we have the draft audit report. The audit reflected 2 significant safety concerns.
Okay.
The SSCs.
2 significant safety concerns. So, when those concerns were flagged by RKO, they requested Liberia as a state to supply information to them the first time in about 15 days as to what we intended doing to reverse the situation. We supplied them information and told them that we were going to issue notice to airmen no time to inform all of the area carriers and stakeholders that we had this situation with the airport.
Do you care to give us an idea as
I'm
to?
going to do
Okay,
that. I'm
okay.
going to do that.
Thank you.
So, the first one had to do with the approach procedure designs for the airport. According to RKO standards, you're supposed to do that as a state every 5 years. The last time ours was done, it was done by Delta, and that was 2013. And so by the time the audit came, which was in 2022, the 5 years has since elapsed. Liberia had commenced the process in 2018 and have made initial payment towards the procedure design. You understand? But then we needed to do the WGS84 survey to ensure that whosoever was supposed to do the procedure design have all of the data to do it. That wasn't done, and so that process was placed on hold.
Okay.
And then the next one, the next SSC came as a result of the air navigation equipment not being flight calibrated or flight checked. You understand? So the last interesting thing with those equipment, because the installation of those equipment commenced in 2013, the new set of equipment. They commenced in 2013, but then Liberia was engulfed in a war with Ebola.
Yeah, surely.
And so for 2 years, we could not continue the installation. So by and then you could not get the Canadians that were responsible for the installation to come because of the Ebola situation. So by 2017, because by 2016 we were declared Ebola free. They chose to come around 2017 to do an assessment, and so 2018 we started the process, and by 2020 the equipment were February of 2020 the equipment were commissioned.
Okay.
But these are solid state electronics equipments. The condition on which they are being kept were also already problematic. And then the manufacturer
So
of
they
those,
have not been installed yet.
no, they were installed and flight calibrated everything by February of 2020.
Okay.
But what I'm trying to say is that these are equipment that you don't keep on the shelf. These are equipment that you manufacture to go and install. Now we have to have the equipment in sitting for a couple of years. So most of them develop some problems. So even to have, doing the flight calibration, we have problems with some of the equipment. And the manufacturer now have gone from the first generation that we had to then they were on the fourth. Now they are on the fifth generation. So you see the challenge we have now at the level of the airport with regards to these equipment is that you can't easily get spares from them from the manufacturer. And so the general perception now is that we have to move together as a state to get at least the fifth generation so that we can be able to easily work with them. But now we have them all functional. The only thing that was remaining now was to flight check them. Again, to do the flight check, we need to do the WGS84 survey. So as we speak, the government of Liberia made an initial contribution, and we're in that meeting, and payment has been made
Okay.
for the flight calibration, and for the WGS84 survey. That process is scheduled to start early November. Payment has been made for the flight calibration also, but they are waiting for the WGS84 survey to be completed. Then they will be able to do it. But the airport has already made payment, and I'll supply the information I received from the airport to AKO.
Do we know how much the payment they made?
I will not remember the figure of
The
here.
entire money that government provided was around 750,000. That is inclusive of 2 brand new generators also.
Okay, for the airport.
Yes. Yeah. So, like you rightly stated, the issue about this also late equipment, they are all being serviced, and like the DVR he just mentioned about, I mean in the low tune way that is, base radio, that you communicate with the aircraft, other stuff.
We service them or we got new ones?
They are all serviced because, like he said, these equipment are not just equipment that you will manufacture and keep. So what the government has done in consultation or in collaboration with the airport authority, we have service, like you said, the survey will be done by the first week of November. The fine tuning is done. The communication set now, the DVR is now fully functional.
Okay.
So the flight check will be done, the survey will be done, right? But the government is not only relying on that. Before the president traveled to the UNGA, he sent for me, we met at the VIP lounge at the airport. He has a lot of good trim, for the airport, that which Liberians will see, as a positive surprise. But what I can tell you, the government is right now in conversation with Intercam. Intercam is a Canadian-based, company.
Okay.
It's one of the best around the world, that manufacture most of these, navigational equipment. So the government is not only relying on the service, equipment. The government is in the process to procure brand new equipment.
Wow.
Yes, and those are things that you gotta go and manufacture. From there, you import it. So, but we can't leave, these obsolete ones to be, non-functional, while you are trying to procure brand new one. So we want to make sure that we balance the scale.
So as we speak now, do we have the problem at the airport itself now with the servicing of the?
This is a good news, because sometimes it's good to give the good news about yourself.
Okay.
Because every time, you as a journalist, we hear a lot of noise about the airport every day. If it is not power outage, it is an issue of communication system. So as we speak, the good news is that everything is now fully functional as it relates to the DVO arrow, and the flight survey going to be done, the servicing of all of the equipment. Those things have been paid for. So in November, because the service provider said they will be available by first week of November.
Okay.
So when you say, or when you ask the question if everything is okay, for now,
Including power outage.
power, as I speak to you, the two brand new generators at 750 kVA each, two package, arrived in country on the 13th of October.
Okay.
And we are set to install them according to our team, responsible at the airport, by Friday, 21st of October. They are going to install the two brand new generators. So the issue of power outage, the issue of other equipment, we are in good standing while we try to procure brand new equipment.
Did you lift this at the international conference you went to? Did they ask you?
Well, these were some side discussion, of course. They were concerned
About flight safety.
Yeah, flight safety. We had some side discussion. We had discussion with Africa, Bagazo, Wakaptin in Bagaya. Bagaya is an organ that came out of Bagazo that is so responsible for incident and accident investigation, like you already mentioned, because you can be the player, the senior, the referee. So before then, up to 2009, they were all embedded into one. But right now, the Accident and Incident Investigation Bureau is under the Ministry of Transport.
Okay.
So we give document to aircraft, right? We license them, we give them, certificates and other stuff. So if there is an incident or accident, that bureau, we no more have that authority. That bureau is responsible. So there were a lot of discussions that we had, when we met in Montreal. So some of the questions were asked, and we assured them. So because of the update that we provided, at the assembly, that has even motivated, some new airlines have begun to communicate with us that
To resume flight?
to begin operations at Roberts.
Okay.
Like even Airpeace was once here. As I speak to you, around the 22nd of November, Airpeace is going to resume flight to Monrovia.
22nd of November?
Yes, this year.
This year?
Yes. So there are some good news, and it's good to...
Is it Airpeace or... you said many new ones were making applications.
Yeah, new ones are trying to contact us, and we are working on the detail to see how, we can provide the procedure on how to begin operations in Liberia. So there are good low hanging fruits out there, and these things are happening because of the concern that the president has about the airport. Like I said to you, before he left for the UNGA, when he sent for me, he said to me, Mr. Colley, we have to improve the sector. And this is a joint effort. The board chair of the airport, Musa Shana, and the sector minister, Minister Wulu, and myself, we are working with the team. The technical side to the CAA, Tamadan, we want to applaud them.
Okay.
Trust me, these guys have been working, overtime, during, before, during, and after the audit, because they were required, like he mentioned, they were required to develop, corrective action plan, so that, ACAO could really believe that indeed Liberia is determined, to resolve or remedy, those concerns that were raised.
Okay.
So we must applaud them, our technical team. They are doing well, and so what we are focused on is to make sure that we get more further training. And as I speak to you, because of our visit to Montreal, the state of Qatar has extended an invitation to Minister Wulu and myself. will be going to Qatar by early, January 2023,
Okay.
and it is anticipated that when we get there, some technical cooperation going to be, enter into where some of our people will be sponsored to go out there to train.
Okay.
Look, the aviation sector is a very expensive, sector.
Very
Right-
expensive.
Yeah, right now I just, sent him to, I just elevated him to head the legal sector.
Okay.
Of the CAA. I mean, he's required, he either go to the UK, the US, I mean, far out to make sure that he specialized, within our legal, setting of the aviation.
Okay.
So we have a lot, to do.
Okay, now with the progress you are making, the government is making, to improve the safety situation at the airport. Mr. Director General, how many airlines now do we have currently operating?
We have around 5, 6 because Africa War just they slow down their operations. But these things, as airlines,
Did they say why?
No, but it's obvious.
Okay.
Right? It's obvious. Like I said, like Air France came and went by. They have come, and gone. I mean, you have your business plan, right? But most time, and this is global. But everything Liberia
It's
wants-
politicized.
Yeah, one, somebody writes to say, hey, my airline is doing that operation. It becomes a big politics.
Yeah, sure.
And you won't believe, we traveled through, Casablanca, and something happened. They said, my wife said, but you need to record there because everything happened at the airport. People think that it's only limited to Liberia. But these things, even your own generator, brand new generator in your backyard, it can break anytime.
Surely.
Even in the US, these things happen, but our ability to maintain, a very good standard, like right now, we have one of the best international ground handling company
Okay.
right now, and no one is talking about it. People travel through there. NAS, NAS is a ground handling company that is all over the world. If you Google NAS, the National Aviation Services. If you look at that company, that's one of the best countries around the world. When you get to the departure hall now, you see the difference, the way you are treated, to check in. They don't know that these things are happening.
Okay.
This is all happening because of the board, the minister, and the CA. The board of the LAA is working very hard. So there are some good things that are happening to make sure that we maintain the standard.
Okay, so you said we have only 6 airlines currently operating.
Yes, yes, for now. Yeah, to the best of my knowledge, yes, for right now, yes.
Wow. Now, let me go back to Anthony Alor Tamba. So, what do you do with the outcome of the audit when you conduct it?
First of all, the audit is conducted by ICAO and not by me.
Okay.
So when the audit is conducted, the audit report is sent to us at the level of the state.
Okay.
When we receive the audit report, then we look at the audit report and come up with corrective action plan, the CAP. The corrective action plan is then sent back to ICAO for its approval. When ICAO accepts your corrective action plan, then you go ahead now to generate your answer, and when you will have your answer, you must make sure that they are accompanied by pieces of evidence.
Okay.
Without that, it will not be accepted. So if you come up with a corrective action plan that is submitted and is not accepted by ICAO, you have to go back and redo it.
Okay.
You redo it. So usually we try to avoid that situation, and that is how come you will see that the regional office, the Director General mentioned, WACAF, which is ICAO or regional office for West and Central Africa. They usually come to help us in generating those corrective action plans so that they can be in conformity with what ICAO requires.
Okay.
Then like that, when you supply your responses, they are always in line with what is required by ICAO. So it is at that phase now that we are at.
Okay.
The audit was done. They sent us the corrective action plan together with the SSC. We did the corrective action plan for the SSC, submitted it, ICAO accepted it, and then we have started supplying them all of the information and the pieces of evidence required. That is how come I told you, say, when I got the amount, the money that was paid for the various services from the airport, we had to send everything to ICAO, and ICAO saw that yes, significant efforts were being made to ensure that the situation is remedied.
Okay. Now, how powerful, in another word, let me just put it that way, is the ACAO? Can it, paint you negative to the extent that, flights can, refuse coming to your country? Or what?
But of course,
Okay.
of course, if you are audited and certain technical issues are raised, and you are given the opportunity, like you said, to respond to the audit in the comments, and you develop, what is called the corrective action plan. Like for example, they tell you that you have problem with this equipment, you have problem with, the communication, the tower. So you need to tell them by this time. It's like a time frame. That yes, I hereby acknowledge or I disagree with it because we have this in place. So if you do not put, that system in place, or you don't respond to the audit, comments, in a timely manner, if ICAO should issue, an information, negative information about you on its, bulletin, that bulletin is monitored by the whole world.
It will affect you greatly.
Of course, it discourages, any other aircraft, like your area is not safe because, ICAO is concerned with safety and security. And that's something that ICAO does not compromise on.
Okay.
And safety and security, those things that are, centered around your procedure, your equipment, those are things that, ICAO would